What's going on YouTube? My name is Marcus, aka Apostle, and today we are going to talk about the top mistakes that I see beginners making when they start playing Spellbreak. Spellbreak is pretty different from your traditional first-person, third-person shooter, you know, Call of Duty, Fortnite, whatever you play. It's pretty different. And because it's so different, it takes a little bit more time to get used to and to learn the basics of, so I figured I'd compile all these mistakes and show them to you guys so you can learn a little bit quicker. Before we get into that though, I just want to let you guys know that I live stream pretty much every day, so if you have any more questions, be sure to check that out down in the description below. I've also got a creator code that you can see in the top corner up there, Apostle OG, that is mine. If you guys haven't bought Spellbreak or just purchase things in the Epic Games Store or play a lot of Fortnite and you feel like supporting me, definitely use that and it'll help me out a lot. Anyways, let's get right into these tips. One of the biggest things that I see beginners struggle with is not knowing what is actually doing damage to them. I get people in the stream or comments basically all the time talking about the fact that they die so fast in Spellbreak, but in reality, the time to kill is pretty high once you know what does big damage and what doesn't. Element combinations really get a lot of emphasis put on them, but the one that you really need to know about is Dragonfire. Dragonfire is the combination of fire and toxic, creating these green flames. This can occur when a toxic cloud is set on fire, causing an explosion that does 40 damage over 1 second. This is really the most confusing way it can happen because it happens so quick and your screen is engulfed in flames and you just kinda don't even know where it came from half the time. If somebody's decent at the game, they'll really turn their toxic cloud into Dragonfire pretty much instantaneously. So if you see someone throwing their toxic sorcery at you, it's most likely going to turn into Dragonfire, so just be careful. The toxic cloud fireball mix isn't the only way that you can get Dragonfire though. You can also do it if you throw down a firewall and then hit it with a toxic slap, or if there's a toxic puddle on the ground and you shoot it with a fireball. This version of Dragonfire covers much less area, but it lasts a lot longer. I often see new players running into the green flames expecting it not to do much damage when in reality it does like 20 damage every half a second, which is a lot, especially if you stand in it for a couple seconds. Obviously, you should avoid all combinations and sorceries, but Dragonfire is really the most devastating. Another quick small tip about combinations is that tornadoes actually pull you harder if you're in the air than you're on the ground, so if you're trying to avoid a tornado, don't jump because it's just going to pull you right back into it. In Spellbreak, the Stone Gauntlet is the noob killer. It really is the gauntlet that is the most different from pretty much any game you've played in the past. Stone is limited to hitting you while you're on the ground or close to it. If it does hit you, it can do huge damage and can hit really quickly, so if you're not paying attention to it, it can devastate you really fast. As a new player, out of everything in a fight, you should be trying to avoid stone the most. If you try to sit on the ground and just trade damage with the stone player, most of the time they're going to out damage you because they're a tanky class and the stone gauntlet just hits so hard if you don't avoid it. Like I said, the stone gauntlet hits you while you're on the ground or close to it, but with that being said, just levitating isn't going to help you out much. You really don't levitate quickly enough to avoid the shots, and even once you get out of the range of the stone gauntlet, you're going to run out of mana really fast and just fall right back on the ground and take more damage. What you should really be trying to focus on is where you were fighting a stone player. Stone thrives in open areas. It really struggles at climbing up things though, so what you want to do is just avoid open fields and stuff and keep an eye out of buildings and objects, just anything you can hop up on. Stone usually won't climb up. When fighting stone, it really comes down to just not being on the same level as a stone player. If they're on the same level as you, they can do damage to you. So you want to get up on something, and then once they get up there, you're going to want to get back down and just keep doing that over and over again. I have an entire video that's dedicated to countering the stone gauntlet, and I'm going to link that down in the description below. If you're a new player, I highly recommend checking it out. So yeah, check that out after this video. If you couldn't tell by my last tip, Spellbreak is all about movement and positioning. You're going to want to position to give yourself the easiest shot possible, but also move around to get out of the way of damage. Everything in Spellbreak is a projectile, so it takes time to get to its target, and this means that everything in Spellbreak requires some prediction to hit the shot. So you really want to be as unpredictable as possible. One of the worst things that I see new players do is just running in a straight line away from fights. All you're doing by running in a straight line is giving the enemy free shots, as they don't have to predict where you're gonna be, and they can run just as fast as you while they're casting their abilities, so it doesn't really give you any benefit. Instead of just running from a fight, you're going to want to try to kite the enemy while you run away. If you don't know what kiting means, it means that as you're running away, you're turning around and you're taking shots of your own. This is going to allow you to do some damage, but also put pressure on them, causing them not to chase you as hard. Projectiles can also collide, so if you're shooting a fireball and somebody else is shooting a fireball and they hit each other, they're just going to break and they're not going to go anywhere, so you can use this defensively as well. If you really need to get out of a situation, you can use your rune ability to help you create distance, or if you're in a castle, you can move sporadically through structures to help try and lose the enemy. Just keep in mind that no matter what you're doing, you don't ever want to be moving in a straight line. Be unpredictable. So as of right now, Spellbreak is just a battle royale. A lot of new players immediately ask the question, how do I win? I always tell them the same thing. Don't worry about winning. It really just doesn't do anything. Instead, what you should be worrying about is learning how to fight. Don't spend the entire game hiding and going for the win, because what's going to happen is you're going to make it to the final circle with players that already know how to fight, and they're just going to run right through you. This is an incredibly boring and frustrating way to play Spellbreak. What you should do instead is try to get a decent loadout and just start fighting people. Take as many fights as you can. This doesn't mean just run in when you're 2 HP, but if you see somebody, just engage on them and try to fight if you think it's gonna turn out well. Don't just avoid somebody because you want to get the win. The more you fight, the quicker you're gonna learn combat and the quicker the wins will come. And to be honest, in Spellbreak, winning a good fight is usually a lot more satisfying than winning the game. That's really what makes Spellbreak so fun. Instead of just getting that hype feeling after you win a lobby, you get it after pretty much every engagement that you come out on top of. So quit hiding and start fighting. This next one really isn't completely to blame on the player. A lot of people that come to me struggling and asking questions are always playing squads. This is partially because the game automatically puts you in squad lobbies. You can change the mode you're playing on by clicking on this big button right here. While you're learning, I highly recommend playing solos, unless you have somebody that's directly helping you. Like I said before, Spellbreak can get really confusing when you're trying to figure out what everything does. If you're playing in squads, that means you're going to be fighting teams, which means there's potentially 6 different elements that you're fighting, each of which has a primary attack and a sorcery, which means that there's 12 different abilities that you're playing against, and that doesn't even include the stuff that you and your team are doing. For new players, squads can get really overwhelming really fast, especially if you're right in the middle of combat. Playing solos is going to limit the amount of stuff coming your way and gives you just one person to focus on, which will help you understand how to play against each class and gauntlet. But really, the biggest mistake that I see people making is hopping into squads and solos right away and just completely skipping the practice lobby. This is my biggest recommendation for new players. Go into the practice lobby, shoot every gauntlet, use their primary and their sorcery, see how combinations work, just mess around a little bit. Also, you should check out every rune to get a feel for all the options you have movement-wise. If you really want to learn quickly, what I recommend doing is trying out every class in the practice lobby and seeing what all of their skills do. To level up your skills, you just pick up this glowing orb thing right here. Trying every class isn't only going to help you pick a class, but it's also going to show you when you're fighting somebody what their class has to offer. So this is going to help sculpt your play style and teach you how to play against pretty much anybody you run into. I really hope you guys found this video helpful. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, as well as check out the Twitch stream down in the description below. If you have any more questions, feel free to ask them there, or if you just feel like coming in and saying what's up. Also, don't forget to use the creator code up there. You can use it in pretty much anything Epic Games. If you're buying Spellbreak, I think you just enter it into the promo code area. I'm not exactly sure how it works, but basically anything that you're buying off Epic Games, you can use that creator code. It really helps me out. Anyways, my name is Marcus, aka Apostle, and thanks for watching.